Noddy, welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. Disappointment for Norwich City last night, of course, in a pretty horrid and turgid performance against Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough. They'll be looking to bounce back, of course, on Saturday at Carrow Road, unbeaten at home in over a year now. That's a long record they hope to try and extend past this next international break. But not going to be an easy test against the Bristol City side, which before last night's heartbreaking defeat against the other side of Sheffield, Sheffield United at Ashton Gate, were 8 games unbeaten. So I'm sure they'll be coming to Carrow Road looking to try and bounce back as well. With that, delighted to be joined by Robins fan Jack. Jack, first and foremost, do really appreciate your time. Of course, delighted to have you back on the channel. Looking ahead to this game, that 8-game unbeaten run you had going into last night's game is over in heartbreaking fashion, really. A 2-1 defeat, suspended Rob Dickie as well after his red card. What was the overriding emotions leaving Ashton Gate last night? I'd imagine it was probably pretty negative, but then again, I think the performance was relatively positive. So what did you make of it?
From what I've heard, I wasn't actually at the game. I'm at university in Cheltenham at the moment, so I'm about to go and watch them play versus Reading for some work on my course. But I managed to catch a little bit on the TV and kind of caught up online. And from the sounds of it, we played really, really well. I saw our goal, saw the penalty, and then turned it back on as they equalised. And how they've managed to get the corner that they've scored from is beyond me. I don't know if you've seen it, but the ball comes in, O'Leary punches it almost behind him, and then Sinclair Armstrong, instead of letting the ball drop and just like hoofing it out the pitch, lets it go out for a corner, and they equalise from there. So if that doesn't happen, does Rob Dickie get sent off? Do they score again? It's a tough one to take. It's very, very frustrating because from the sounds of it, we were the better side for the most part of the game.
Yeah, 14 games in now. You're on 19 points, 1 point ahead of Norwich in the table, 1 position ahead. Of course, we're recording this prior to tonight's game, so that could change slightly by the time we reach Saturday. But what have you made that of kind of the start of the season more generally? I mean, some pretty positive results in there. Lots of draws, quite similar to Norwich.
Yeah, like you said, very similar to you guys. It's been, again, probably almost rounded up by last night, a season of frustration where we could have, like, up until last night, we lost the same amount of games as Sunderland, who are obviously top of the league and flying. It's just those, we need a striker. And I said this last summer, we brought in Fally Mayulu and Sinclair Armstrong. Neither of them have been amazing. Mayulu started well, 2-2. Armstrong kind of picked up as he's gone along. I think he's got 3 goals now. But we've just not, Nahki Wells has regained some form, which is nice, almost having that competition back. I think he always knew Conway was ahead of him when he was here. Rightly or wrongly, I suppose it's up for debate. But since Armstrong and Mayulu have come on, he's really stepped up his game, which is nice to see, especially for someone in kind of the twilight years of his career now. But yeah, it's been a good season overall. If you'd offered me this position come the start of November at the start of the season, I'd be quite happy. We're only 2 or 3 points outside the playoffs. For about 10 minutes last night, we were 5th, which was fun. Almost got a nosebleed. I think that's probably the highest we've been at the table in about 3 years. But yeah, no, overall doing all right. I think we could really do a bouncing back against you guys.
Yeah, you mentioned the table. I mean, 11th place finish last campaign, which was the highest since 2018-19, where you finished 8th. I mean, where is the expectation? Where's the bar this season? It always feels like with Bristol City, whenever I speak to you or anyone else of a Bristol City persuasion, it's always, we want to try and push for the playoffs, but you always seem to fall just short.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the same again this year, to be honest with you. I think the window kind of says, and when we sacked Nigel Pearson last summer, or last October, sorry, I think we played you guys just before that happened, maybe, or just after. It was around the same sort of time. And obviously we conceded really late to you, and that was a theme of our season last year, as it has been this year, to be honest. I think if you'd taken me last season, I'd have said mid-table, happy with that. But then the window we've had, I think we should probably be in and around the playoff spots. I'm not sure we'll get in the top 6, but I've said from the start of the season, anywhere from like first, which we could all dream, to sort of 8th, 9th, I'd be more than happy with. I think if we're in the mix, I think most fans will take that. Try and attract some more players in the summer and kind of go from there. Yeah,
you mentioned Nigel Pearson there. I mean, Liam Manning's been in the dugout now for almost a year since that sacking. What have you made of his progress? I know when he first arrived, it was quite difficult, and I maybe even saw sort of desire maybe for him to be removed of his position at certain points, but feels like certainly, I mean, I remember seeing Bristol City at the end of last campaign at Carrow Road, felt much more progressive, much more cohesive, felt like the style of play was quite positive, fans buying into that.
Yeah, I think it took a long time, like you said. I think it kind of took, obviously he arrived late October, early November last year, and it probably took until sort of March, April time before fans really clicked with him. and clicked with the system. We had the cup wins against West Ham and the narrow loss to Forest, and that kind of helped him. I think kind of everyone going, right, okay, there is something here. And then we had a nice little unbeaten run, which included the game against you guys at the end of last season. I think it was 7 or 8 games, and then we lost to Stoke 4-0 on the final day, which was very out of character for us last year. We didn't get drubbed very often. I think we had like the second best defense in the league going into that game. We ended up with like 4th or 5th because of the disaster of the final game. But yeah, I've bought into it at the very least. I think the majority of fans are starting to see it now. There's clear signs of progress, like you say, and only losing 3 games by this time of the season. I don't think we've done that for a long old time now. Like, this is the most consistent we've been for the most part. It's just finding that final little pass, final little finish, and like last night, keeping the concentration levels until the very end, and we'll probably be in and around the top 6.
Yeah, it's always usually quite easy maybe to pick out a star player from certain teams, but it feels like Bristol City are maybe more of a unit team, lots of good players across the field in different positions. Who's been the star man? Jason Knight's a player I always really enjoy watching. I think 1 goal, 3 assists already this campaign. Luke McNally, you arrived from Burnley, who seems to have settled in quite well. Are those two maybe individuals, or is that somebody else that I'm missing there?
Those two are definitely up there. It took him 1 or 2 games to kind of find his feet. He was almost a little bit like Bambi on ice for his first game away at Blackburn, which we lost 3-0, which was, to be fair, no one had a good game that day, so you can't really blame him too much. Since then, he's looked really good. Unfortunately, he got injured in training in the week, I think. He played 90 minutes at Preston last Saturday and looked amazing, and then wasn't in the squad last night, so I can only presume he's out for a little while. Max Bird, though, for me, has been the number one. Signed him last January technically, and then loaded it back to Derby for the second half of the season before he turned up in the summer, and he's just been exceptional. I don't know if you've seen our 3rd goal at Preston last weekend was kind of started and finished by him, and it was his first goal for the club, and it was just like one of the best goals I've ever seen us score, I think, in terms of like team play. And it was a goal any sort of Prem team would be proud of, which is obviously where you want to be. So yeah, Max Bird for me. Scott Twine as well. He's unfortunately injured at the moment, but another really good signing, brought in last January on loan and then made permanent in the summer. But yeah, probably those two for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Scott Twine being missing. Obviously, Rob Dickie suspended. Is there maybe a settled 11 for this Bristol City side? Is there any key injuries heading into this game?
I don't think we have any defenders, which isn't ideal. We've got Zach Viner, McNally's injured, Naismith's sort of half fit. Roberts isn't really match fit. Pring's not really match fit. Sykes went off injured last night. He's been covering at right back. McCrory and Tanner are out for mid to long term. So yeah, we haven't got a defence, which is a slight issue. The kind of midfield and attack hasn't really changed too much recently. Hirakawa from who we brought in from Japan in the summer has been excellent. He's taken to the championship like a duck to water, which has been really, really good to see. He scored a couple of goals, a very dubious one at Preston last weekend, which was definitely handball, but we'll take it nonetheless. So I think the defence, it's anyone's guess what'll happen on Saturday. I think he'll probably go back to a 4, maybe Viner at right back, and just kind of pray that someone makes a miraculous recovery for the other 3 spots. But yeah, midfield I'd imagine it'll be Knight, Bird, and who started last night? Mehmeti? No, Mehmeti came on. Who knows who the third midfield role? Maybe Marcus McGuane. Him and Joe Williams have kind of been rotating in and out in recent weeks. Williams has been suspended and injured here and there, and then it'll probably be Naki Wells, Yu Hirakawa, and hopefully Anis Mehmeti gets a start, because I really like him. He's very kind of a Marmite player for us. I think not many seem to get on board with him, but when he's good, he's amazing. He scored the penalty last night, so I think he deserves a start.
Yeah, play with Norwich City, a Norwich City pass as well, came through Norwich's academy. So yeah, intrigued to see how he gets on Saturday. Before I maybe get your thoughts on Norwich, where's maybe the strengths or the weaknesses in this Bristol City side? I mean, looking at the table, obviously goals scored seems to be a pretty positive, but like Norwich, maybe you can see quite a few. But where's maybe the key strength, key weakness in this team?
I think our midfield has been a massive, massive strength for us this season. I think you look at the quality and depth we've got as well. I mean, like I said, Joe Williams out injured at the moment. Naismith can kind of step in there when needed. But McGuane and Bird and Knight specifically have been really, really solid in these last few games. McGuane has only played, I think, 3 or 4 games for us now after signing from Oxford in the summer. And he was at Barcelona once, and you can kind of, there's almost a way he carries himself around the pitch, and you can kind of tell that he knows he's good, and he is good. So our midfield's definitely our strong point. I think defense is is all right when we've got everyone fit. But I think, like I said, for Saturday that'll be a potential issue. And then going forwards, it's whether or not we click. We have games like Preston where we look like we could score every time we go forwards, and then we have games like Sheffield Wednesday where we get into the final third loads and then just don't shoot, and it's like really, really frustrating to watch, like almost missing that final pass. So I think yeah, the midfield's definitely the key strength, and then probably the goal scoring might be the main weakness, I think.
Yeah, obviously intrigued to get your take on Norwich. I mean, from afar, have you seen much of Norwich this season? What have you made of it? I mean, obviously very different maybe than this time last year where we played you under David Wagner. Norwich fans wanted him gone, and even though got us to the playoffs, still pretty negative feeling towards him. Decided to go in a different direction under Johannes Torup. What have you made of the Canaries so far this season?
I think you've started very well. I mean, you're unbeaten at home in how long is it now? It's got to be a long, long time.
About a year. Yeah.
So, if we turn up and get a result, it'll be absolutely massive. Jolis has impressed me this season. Sainz has as well. I remember his goals at Derby; they were really, really good. Again, a little bit dubious at points, but yeah, you've got a cracking side, and I'd be surprised if you don't end up pushing in towards that top six eventually this year. I think it'll be a similar season to us, where we're both kind of in and around in the mix. Maybe not kind of nailed on to get in the top six, but I think both sides will be in and around there, hopefully.
Yeah, I suppose with that, two good footballing sides, how do you see this game unfolding on Saturday? It feels like it could be a big one maybe for that end of the season race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd probably take a point. I don't see us turning up and winning, but I think after last night's kind of disappointing end, I think we need to bounce back with at least something. I think if we turn up and get a point, everyone will go, okay, decent point. They're unbeaten at home in a long, long time. And then we go in, we've got Burnley and Watford back to back after you guys, which will be massive the other side of the international break. Hopefully we have a few players back by then. Because those two games, if you lose them both, you're probably out the playoff race for a fair while, unless you get a good run of form going again. If you win them both, all of a sudden we're like fourth in the table. So it'll be a key one, I think, going into that international break to try and get something out of it. I'd be more than happy with a point though. I think if I had to put a score prediction to it, I'd probably go with a 1-1 or a 2-2.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, two sides that, good at scoring goals, maybe less so good at defending them. So intrigued to see how it goes. And before we round off, Jack, trying to plug your YouTube channel. I know you've got lots of good content across there for where Bristol City fans and Norwich fans can find that's good stuff.
Yeah, it's just my name, Jack Buchanan. If you search it in, probably search Jack Buchanan Bristol City, it'll definitely come up then. The vlog from Ashton Gate last year when Adam Eder scored in the last minutes on there, so you can all go and enjoy that as well.
There we go. Of course, we'll link Jack's channel down below. Jack, really do appreciate your time and coming back on the show. Always a pleasure to speak to you, and of course get the insight there on the Robins. Should be a really good game on Saturday. Looking forward to it. Norwich hoping to extend that really positive home form. Of course, bounce back after a couple of pretty poor defeats. But, as we've mentioned on this show, not going to be an easy test against a decent Bristol City side that are looking to also bounce back after some pretty late heartbreak last night.